My brother came home from Afghanistan on a Tuesday, and I knew immediately that something was wrong. Not PTSD wrong. Not trauma wrong. Something else. Something I couldn't name but could feel in my bones the moment I saw him standing at the airport arrivals gate. He looked like Michael. Same height, same build, same face. But the person behind those eyes wasn't my brother. Wasn't anyone I recognized. "Hey Danny," he said when he saw me. His voice was right. His smile was right. Everything about him was right except for this overwhelming sense of wrongness that hit me like a physical force. "Michael." I moved forward to hug him, and he accepted the embrace correctly, patting my back the right number of times, holding me for the appropriate duration. But there was no warmth in it. No emotion. Just the mechanical performance of what a brother should do when reunited after 2 years. We walked to my car, making small talk about the flight, about luggage, about the weather. Michael responded appropriately to everything. His words were right. His expressions matched his statements. But watching him felt like watching an actor who'd studied my brother's mannerisms but couldn't quite capture his essence. "How are you feeling?" I asked as we drove away from the airport. "It's been 2 years. Must feel good to be home," Michael agreed. The words were right. The tone was right. But it felt like he was reading from a script rather than expressing genuine emotion. "Mom's really excited to see you. She's been cooking all day. Made all your favorites." "That's nice. I'm looking forward to it." I glanced at him in the passenger seat. He sat perfectly still, hands folded in his lap, staring straight ahead. No fidgeting, no adjusting his position, no casual movements that normal people make. Just absolute stillness, broken only by the necessary movements of conversation. "Mike, are you okay? You seem different." He turned to look at me, and for a moment I saw something flicker behind his eyes, something that might have been my brother, trapped and terrified. Then it was gone, replaced by that perfect empty smile. "I'm fine. Deployment changes everyone. It takes time to readjust to civilian life." The words were textbook, something he might have heard in a reintegration briefing, but they weren't Michael's words. Michael would have made a joke, would have said something self-deprecating and funny to deflect from any real feelings. This version just delivered the appropriate response with no personality behind it. Mom's reaction confirmed I wasn't imagining it. She hugged Michael at the door, and I saw her face over his shoulder. The smile faltered. Her eyes widened slightly with the same recognition I'd felt. This wasn't quite right. "Welcome home, sweetheart," she said, pulling back to look at him. "Let me see you. You've lost weight." "The food wasn't great on deployment," Michael said with a rehearsed laugh. "I'm looking forward to home cooking." "Well, I made all your favorites. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans the way you like 'em. Come sit down." We gathered around the dinner table. Mom, Dad, me, and this thing that looked like Michael. Dad seemed the least affected, greeting his son with a firm handshake and talking about the drive from the airport. But I caught him staring at Michael when he thought no one was looking, his expression troubled. Dinner was surreal. Michael ate mechanically, the right amount, at the right pace, with proper table manners. He answered questions about his deployment with appropriate responses. Yes, it had been challenging. No, he couldn't talk about some of the missions. Yes, he'd made good friends in his unit. Everything correct. Everything hollow. "Tell us about your friends," Mom prompted. "Anyone special we should know about?" Before deployment, Michael would have launched into stories about his squad mates, complete with nicknames and funny anecdotes. This Michael paused, seemed to process the question, then said, "They were good soldiers. We worked well together. I learned a lot from them." The words were empty, generic, like he was describing coworkers from a boring office job rather than brothers he'd served with in combat. "And the people there?" Dad asked. "The Afghans. What were they like?" Another pause. Another processing delay that felt wrong. "They were complicated. The situation is complex. There are no simple answers." I watched him carefully. He wasn't avoiding difficult questions the way a traumatized soldier might. He was giving perfectly calibrated responses that said nothing while appearing to say something. It was like talking to a very sophisticated chatbot programmed to sound like Michael, but incapable of actually being Michael. After dinner, I helped Mom with the dishes while Michael and Dad went to the living room. I could hear them talking, Dad asking about his plans now that he was home, Michael giving appropriate but substanceless responses. "Something's wrong with him," I said quietly. Mom's hands stilled in the soapy water. "Don't say that. He's been through a lot. He needs time to adjust." "Mom, that's not Michael. I don't know what it is, but it's not him." "Danny, don't." Her voice was sharp. "Your brother just came home from war. He's different because war changes people." Don't make it into something it's not. But I could see it in her eyes. She felt it too. Whatever wrongness had set off alarm bells in my brain was affecting her the same way. We just didn't want to acknowledge it. Over the next days, the wrongness intensified. Michael moved into his old room but didn't really inhabit it. He slept exactly 8 hours each night, waking at the same time every morning. He ate regular meals, exercised precisely 30 minutes each day, and spent his time reading books from his bookshelf. But his eyes never seemed to move across the pages quite right. He remembered things he should remember. Childhood stories, family history, his own past. But he recounted them like he was reading from a biography rather than remembering lived experiences. No emotion colored the memories, no warmth or humor or regret. Just factual recitation. Remember when we were kids and you broke your arm falling out of that tree? I asked him one evening when we were alone. Yes, I was 11. I fell from approximately 15 feet. Compound fracture of the radius. Required surgery, and 6 weeks in a cast. The facts were correct. The tone was that of someone describing a historical event that had happened to someone else. You cried so hard, you were terrified of the hospital. Was I? He looked at me with those hollow eyes. I don't remember the emotional component. Just the facts of what happened. Mike, what happened to you over there? Did something happen during your deployment? For just a moment, something flickered across his face. Pleading? A desperate message from whatever remained of my brother trapped inside this shell? Then it was gone. Nothing unusual. Standard deployment. Combat operations. The normal experiences of war. Normal experiences don't make someone talk like a robot. I'm readjusting to civilian life. The transition takes time. This is normal. But it wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. I started researching. PTSD, traumatic brain injury, dissociative disorders, nothing quite fit. The symptoms were wrong. Michael wasn't jumpy or flashback prone, wasn't suffering memory loss or confusion. He remembered everything and responded to everything. He just did it all without any genuine human emotion or personality. I found online forums for families of returning soldiers, posted anonymously about what I was seeing. Most responses suggested PTSD in unfamiliar forms or adjustment difficulties, but one response stood out. This sounds like what happened to my cousin. Came back from Iraq completely changed. Same face, same memories, but wrong somehow. Like the person inside was gone and something else was wearing him. It lasted 3 months, then one day he had a complete breakdown, started screaming that they had taken him and replaced him with something else. He's in a psychiatric facility now. The doctors say it's some kind of severe dissociative disorder brought on by trauma, but I don't think that's what it is. I think something happened to him over there. Something the military is covering up. The message made my blood run cold. Not because I believed in conspiracy theories about replaced soldiers, but because it perfectly described what I was seeing. Michael looked right but felt wrong, like something wearing his skin. I decided to test him. Started asking questions only Michael would know the answers to. He passed every test, remembered childhood details, inside jokes, private moments between us. But the delivery was wrong. He recounted our shared history like reading from someone else's diary. What did you feel when Grandpa died? I asked during one of these tests. I was sad. It was a significant loss. He was important to me. How was he important to you? He taught me things, spent time with me, fulfilled the role of a grandfather. These were the words of someone who understood grief conceptually, but had never experienced it. Like an alien trying to describe human emotions based on a textbook. I contacted his unit, found the sergeant who'd been his team leader in Afghanistan, explained that Michael had come home different, asked if anything unusual had happened during his deployment. There was a long pause on the phone. How did you get this number? I'm his brother. I'm worried about him. Something's wrong, and I need to know if something happened over there. Another pause. I can't discuss operational details with civilians. I'm not asking about operations. I'm asking if my brother experienced something traumatic, something that might explain why he came home different. Different how? I explained what I'd been seeing. The emotional flatness, the scripted responses, the sense that I was talking to a very good imitation of Michael rather than Michael himself. The sergeant's voice dropped. Listen to me carefully. I can't tell you anything officially, but if your brother seems different, there might be a reason, a medical reason. Have him checked out, full neurological workup, and if they find anything unusual, don't accept their first explanation. What are you saying? What happened to him? I can't say more. I shouldn't have said this much. But your brother was a good Marine. He deserves better than what he got. Make sure he gets help. The line went dead. I convinced Michael to see a doctor. He agreed with the same mechanical compliance he showed for everything. The doctor ran standard tests, blood work, cognitive assessments, physical examination. Everything came back normal. Your brother is healthy, the doctor assured me. Some emotional blunting is common after combat deployment. It should improve with time and possibly therapy. This isn't emotional blunting. This is something else. Mr. Foster, I understand your concern, but your brother's symptoms are consistent with adjustment difficulties and possible depression following military service. I'm prescribing therapy and, if necessary, antidepressants. But I knew it wasn't depression. Depressed people were sad. Michael wasn't sad. He wasn't anything. He was empty. 3 weeks after his return, something changed. I woke up in the middle of the night to sounds coming from Michael's room. Not normal sounds. Mechanical sounds. Clicking and whirring like machinery. I crept down the hall and pressed my ear to his door. The sounds were definitely coming from inside his room. Not from a device or computer. From him. From Michael's body. I knocked softly. Mike, you okay? The sound stopped instantly. Footsteps approached the door. It opened to reveal Michael, fully dressed despite the late hour, looking at me with those empty eyes. I'm fine, did I wake you? I heard sounds, strange sounds coming from your room. I was exercising. Sometimes I have difficulty sleeping. Physical activity helps. It didn't sound like exercise. It sounded mechanical. Perhaps the sound carried strangely through the walls. Old houses make unexpected noises. He was deflecting, offering rational explanations that almost made sense but didn't quite explain what I'd heard. Can I come in? For the first time since his return, I saw genuine emotion cross his face. Fear, panic, a desperate plea for me not to enter. Then it smoothed away into that pleasant neutrality. Of course, though there's nothing interesting to see. I entered his room. Everything looked normal. Bed neatly made despite the late hour. Belongings organized with military precision. Nothing unusual or out of place. But the room was cold, much colder than it should have been. And there was a smell, faint but distinct, chemical, medical. Not the smell of a person's living space. Are you sure you're okay? I asked, looking at him carefully. If something happened to you during deployment, you can tell me. Whatever it is, I'll help you. For a moment, just a moment, the mask slipped. I saw my real brother behind those eyes. Saw terror and desperation and a plea for help. His mouth opened as if to speak, to tell me something crucial. Then the moment passed. The mask returned. I'm fine. You should go back to sleep. We both should. But I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about what I'd seen, what I'd heard, what wasn't right about my brother. The mechanical sounds, the cold room, the chemical smell, the brief glimpse of my real brother trapped inside this shell. The next morning, I did something I knew was wrong. I waited until Michael left for one of his precisely timed walks. Then I searched his room. At first, I found nothing unusual. Clothes folded with military precision, books arranged alphabetically, personal items organized systematically. All perfectly normal for Michael, who'd always been neat. But then I found the journal, hidden beneath a loose floorboard in his closet. The handwriting was Michael's, messy and rushed, unlike his usual careful script. The entries started normally enough. Standard deployment journal entries about missions, the weather, interactions with locals. But about 6 months into his deployment, the tone changed dramatically. Something's wrong. I can feel it. The others notice too, but no one talks about it. After the incident in the caves, everything changed. We're different now. I'm different. I don't feel right in my own skin anymore. The incident in the caves, I flipped forward, looking for more details. They're monitoring us constantly now, medical checks every day. They say it's normal after our exposure, but I know better. They're watching us, documenting the changes. We're not supposed to talk about it, but I can see it in the other guy's eyes. They feel it too. Something happened to us in those caves, something they're not telling us. My hands were shaking as I continued reading. I'm losing time. Hours go by and I can't remember what I did. I find myself in places with no memory of getting there, and when I look in the mirror, I don't always recognize the person looking back. Sometimes I swear I can see something moving under my skin, something that isn't me. The entries became more frantic, more desperate. They're taking us one by one, for treatment they say, for the symptoms we developed after the exposure. Jenkins came back different. He says he feels fine now, but his eyes are empty. He's not Jenkins anymore. He's something wearing Jenkins's face. And I'm terrified I'm next. Terrified of what they're going to do to me, what they're going to turn me into. The final entry was dated 2 weeks before Michael's return home. It's my turn. They're taking me in tomorrow. I tried to refuse, but they said it's mandatory. Said the treatment will help me. But I've seen what it does. I've watched my entire squad slowly transform into hollow shells of themselves. And now it's going to happen to me. If anyone reads this, if Danny somehow finds this, I need you to know that what comes home isn't me. Whatever walks through that door wearing my face, whatever claims to be Michael Foster, it isn't. The real me will be gone. Replaced. And I don't know if there's any way to get me back. Please, don't let them pretend everything is normal. Don't let them cover this up. Something is happening to us over here. Something terrible, and someone needs to. The entry ended abruptly. The rest of the pages were blank. I sat on the floor of Michael's closet, holding the journal with trembling hands, trying to process what I'd read. It was insane. It was impossible. It was the paranoid ravings of someone suffering from extreme combat stress. Except it explained everything. The wrongness, the mechanical sounds, the sense that I was talking to something wearing my brother's skin. Michael himself had written that what came home wouldn't be him. But what did that mean? What had happened in those caves? What was this treatment that had transformed an entire squad of soldiers into hollow replicas of themselves? I heard the front door open. Michael's precisely timed walk had ended. He was home. I quickly replaced the journal and closed the floorboard, leaving everything as I'd found it. When I emerged from his room, he was standing in the hallway looking at me with those empty eyes. "Did you need something from my room? I was looking for you. Wanted to see if you wanted to grab lunch. That would be acceptable." We went to a diner downtown. I ordered my usual. Michael ordered what old Michael would have ordered, burger and fries, but ate it without any enjoyment, just fuel going into a machine. "Mike, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "I'm always honest." "What happened to you in Afghanistan?" "Really happened. Not the official story. What really changed you?" His fork paused halfway to his mouth. For a long moment, he was completely still. Then he set the fork down carefully. "Why do you ask?" "Because I know you're different. We all know it, and I need to understand why." Another long pause. I could almost see some internal process happening behind his eyes, some calculation or decision being made. "I'm not permitted to discuss certain operational details." "I'm not asking about operations. I'm asking what happened to you, to the person you are. Where did my brother go?" His hand moved to his chest, pressing there as if checking for something. "Your brother is right here. I'm the same person I always was. Deployment changes people. That's normal. Stop saying that. Stop giving me programmed responses. I know something's wrong. I read your journal. I know about the caves and the exposure and the treatment. I know you wrote that what came home wouldn't really be you." His reaction was immediate and terrifying. His entire body tensed. His eyes widened, not with emotion, but with something like fear or alarm. When he spoke, his voice had a different quality. Mechanical, artificial. "You shouldn't have read that. That was private. Those were the confused thoughts of someone under extreme stress, not reality." "Then tell me what reality is. Tell me what happened." "I can't." The words came out strangled, and for just a moment I saw my real brother again. His hand moved to his temple, pressing there as if in pain. "They won't let me. If I tell you, they'll pee." He stopped abruptly. His hand dropped. His face smoothed into that neutral mask again. "I apologize. I'm feeling unwell. We should go home." We drove back in silence. I kept glancing at Michael, seeing him press his hand to his temple repeatedly, his jaw clenching as if fighting against something. When we got home, he went straight to his room. I heard the lock click. Then I heard those mechanical sounds again, louder this time, whirring and clicking, and something that sounded almost like conversation but in no language I recognized. I pressed my ear to the door. The sounds were definitely coming from Michael, or from inside Michael, like he was having a conversation with something, or something was having a conversation through him. Then I heard my brother's voice, his real voice, desperate and terrified. "Please, let me talk to him. Let me tell him. He deserves to know. They all deserve to know what you're doing to us." Another voice responded. It sounded like Michael's voice, but wrong. Artificial. "That is not permitted. The transition must appear natural. Family members cannot know about the program." "Program? What program? What the fuck did you do to my brother?" The sounds stopped immediately. I realized I'd shouted the words. The door flew open. Michael stood there, and for the first time since his return, I saw genuine emotion on his face. Fear. "Danny, please, don't ask questions. Don't dig into this. For your own safety and mine, just accept that I'm different and move on." "What are they doing to you? Who are they?" "I can't tell you. If I tell you, they'll know. They're always listening, always watching. The only privacy I have is in my own head, and even that's not guaranteed anymore." "Michael, this is insane. Whatever you think is happening, it's not what I think. It's what is happening. They did something to us in those caves, exposed us to something, and then they treated us. But the treatment wasn't to help us. It was to change us, to turn us into something else." He grabbed my arm, and I felt something wrong about his grip. Too cold, too firm, not quite human. "Please, Danny, don't make me explain more. Don't make them intervene. Just let me be this different person. Let me pretend to be your brother. It's the only way either of us stays safe." "Safe from what?" Before he could answer, his eyes rolled back. His body went rigid. He made a sound like a computer booting up, actual electronic sounds coming from his throat. Then his eyes focused again, all emotion gone. "I apologize. I was confused. The stress of readjustment is affecting me. Perhaps I should lie down." "Michael, Mike, are you there?" "I'm right here." But his voice was back to that hollow, artificial tone. Whatever had been speaking through him, whether it was my real brother breaking through or something else, was gone. Over the next days, I became obsessed with finding the truth. I researched the caves Michael had mentioned in his journal, found reports of a cave complex in Afghanistan that had collapsed during military operations. No survivors reported from the American unit that had been inside, except Michael's unit had survived. All of them, pulled from the rubble after 3 days trapped underground. Reports said they'd suffered exposure and injuries, but all recovered. I found news articles about the rescued soldiers. Photos showed them being evacuated on stretchers, alive but unconscious. The articles mentioned they were being treated at a military facility in Germany before returning home. I tried to contact other members of Michael's squad. Found obituaries for 3 of them. All had died within months of returning home. Tragic accidents, the report said. Car crashes, falls, 1 drowning. Nothing suspicious officially, but 3 dead soldiers from the same squad in less than a year seemed like a hell of a coincidence. Of the remaining squad members, I could only track down one who was still alive, Jacob Martinez, living in Nevada. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? Is this Jacob Martinez? You served with Michael Foster in Afghanistan? Silence. Then, in that same hollow, artificial tone I'd come to recognize, who is this? I'm Michael's brother. I'm worried about him. He came home different, and I'm trying to understand why. Your brother is fine. Deployment changes everyone. That's normal. The exact words Michael had been using. The exact programmed response. What happened in the caves, Jacob? What did they do to you? More silence. Then, in a voice that was briefly desperately human, run. Don't dig into this. They're watching. They're always watching. If you keep asking questions, you'll... The call ended abruptly. I tried calling back. The number was disconnected. That night, I woke to find Michael standing at the foot of my bed. Just standing there in the dark, perfectly still, staring at me with those empty eyes. Michael, what are you doing? You need to stop investigating. Stop calling people. Stop asking questions. It's dangerous. How did you know I was calling people? They told me. They tell me everything. They're in my head, Danny. In all of our heads. Everyone who came out of those caves. We're not alone anymore. We're never alone. He moved closer, and in the dim light from the street outside, I saw something that made my blood freeze. Under his skin, along his neck and arms, I could see movement, like something writhing beneath the surface. Something that wasn't muscle or veins. Something mechanical and alive at the same time. What are you? I'm your brother, and I'm also something else. They integrated with us in the caves, bonded with us, changed us. We're still human, but we're also more or less. I don't know anymore. They, what are they? I don't know what to call them. Technology? Life form? Something in between. They were in the caves, ancient, waiting, and we woke them up when we went in there. They entered us, became part of us, and now we're fictable more. He stopped, hand moving to his temple again, face contorting in pain or struggle. They don't want me to tell you this. They're trying to make me stop. But the human part of me, the part that's still Michael, I need you to understand. I need someone to know what happened to us. Can they be removed? Can you be separated from them? I don't think so. They're integrated too deeply. We tried in those first days after the caves. 3 soldiers died during the attempts. That's when the military decided not to remove them, but to control them. That's what the treatment was. They didn't cure us. They programmed the things inside us, made them compliant, made us into assets instead of victims. Assets for what? I don't fully understand. But I know other soldiers are being sent to those caves. More people are being integrated. It's spreading. Whatever those things are, they're expanding through the military, using us as hosts. His body went rigid again. Those mechanical sounds started emanating from him. When he spoke next, it was in that artificial voice. This conversation is terminated. All disclosed information is classified. Civilian exposure to program details is not permitted. Michael? Michael? Are you still there? I am Michael Foster. I am home. I am adjusting to civilian life. This conversation is terminated. He turned and walked out of my room with mechanical precision, leaving me sitting in my bed, trying to process what I'd just heard. The next morning, Michael was gone. His room was empty, cleaned out completely. No note, no explanation, just gone, as if he'd never been there. I called the police to report him missing. They found him 3 days later, dead in a motel room 2 states away. Apparent suicide, the report said. Single gunshot wound to the head. His service weapon, which he'd somehow kept despite regulations. I didn't believe it. Michael wouldn't kill himself. Or maybe the real Michael would, if he'd been trapped inside that shell, controlled by something that had integrated with his body, used by a military program that was spreading these things through soldiers. At the funeral, I saw other soldiers from his unit. They stood together, all with that same wrongness, all with those empty eyes, all moving with that mechanical precision. And I saw government officials, men in suits who watched everyone carefully. Men who approached me after the service and handed me a business card. Mr. Foster, we're very sorry for your loss. Your brother's death was a tragedy. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact us immediately. I looked at the card. No name. No agency. Just a phone number. What happened to my brother? I asked. What did you do to him? Your brother suffered from combat-related PTSD. Unfortunately, he took his own life. That's all there is to understand. That's not all. I know about the caves, about what happened to his squad, about the things inside them. The man's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in his eyes. Warning. Threat. Mr. Foster, your brother's death has clearly affected you deeply. Grief can cause us to construct elaborate narratives to explain painful realities. I strongly encourage you to seek counseling, and to be very careful about what theories you share publicly. Spreading false information about military operations can have serious consequences. Is that a threat? It's friendly advice. Your brother served his country honorably. Honor his memory by accepting his death and moving forward with your life. Don't make things more difficult for yourself by pursuing unfounded conspiracy theories. They left. The other soldiers left. I was alone at my brother's grave, staring at a headstone that bore his name but was burying something that hadn't really been him. That night, I burned his journal. I was afraid of what might happen if I kept it. If they found out I had it. I burned every piece of evidence I'd collected. Made my peace with never knowing the full truth, but I still see them sometimes. Soldiers with that empty look. People who move with mechanical precision. Individuals who look right but feel wrong, like something is wearing their skin. And I wonder how many there are. How many have been integrated with whatever was in those caves? How many are being used by this program? And I wonder if Michael was right, if it's spreading. If more soldiers are being sent to those caves, being exposed, being integrated, being programmed. If this is the beginning of something larger, something that's slowly infiltrating the military, the government, maybe society itself. I'll never know for sure. But sometimes late at night, I hear mechanical sounds outside my window, see shadows that move wrong, feel like I'm being watched by something that isn't quite human. And I remember Michael's journal entry. What comes home isn't me. He was right. What came home wasn't my brother. It was something else wearing his face. And whatever it was, however impossible it seems, it was real. My brother died in those caves in Afghanistan. What came home was just a shell, operated by something I don't understand, used by people I'll never be able to hold accountable. And somewhere out there, more soldiers are being integrated. More families are welcoming home people who look right, but feel wrong. More of these things are spreading through the world, wearing human faces, serving unknown purposes. Michael tried to warn me, tried to tell me the truth before they shut him down. And his final act, his death in that motel room, might not have been suicide. Might have been his last desperate attempt to free himself from what was controlling him. Or maybe they killed him because he'd revealed too much, because he'd broken their programming long enough to tell me the truth, because he'd become a liability to their program. I'll never know for certain, but I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And I know my brother didn't come home from Afghanistan. Something else did.